Kim, how you doing? Thanks for coming on.
I'm doing well. How are you today?
Thank you for jumping on short notice. I know you're very busy. I obviously I wanted to find out. We're a plaintiff in the Trusted News Initiative case that CHD has handled from the beginning, and we've had some developments. But could you? I'm curious about how the change of jurisdiction happened. It was filed in Louisiana, and then went to New York, I think, and then to DC, and that's where it sits. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's actually more complicated than that.
Okay. Okay.
It started off in Texas,
Okay.
and the defendants removed the case, and there's processes by which defendants can remove cases to other
Hmm.
other venues. They moved it to New York,
Ah,
um, which was not perceived by plaintiffs as maybe the jurisdiction we wanted to be in.
of course.
We can voluntarily dismiss at that point, which we did, and we refiled in Louisiana.
Ah,
The judge in Louisiana determined that it was best venued somewhere else, so that's how we ended up in the District of Columbia in district court. So it's been in 4 U.S. district courts
wow.
over the course of the past few years, but it's been with the judge in the district court in the District of Columbia since late 2023, early 2024.
And nothing has happened. And, the attorneys on the case, I got an email that I think you guys hired to run the case, said that's normal. I mean, is it normal or is it
It,
in DC?
there's that phrase, the wheels of justice turn slowly.
Yeah, sure.
There is some truth to that. So it is not outside the bounds of sort of normal judicial timing
Hmm.
for a motion to sit in front of a court, even when it's fully briefed, like the motions to dismiss that the defendants filed. Those have been briefed since January of 2024 for
Hmm.
them to be under consideration by the court. And these courts, to their defense a little bit, they are very busy. They
Yeah, of
have
course.
very heavy dockets, and particularly a court in the District of Columbia, a district in the District of Columbia, they have a very busy docket, with a lot of government related cases sitting in
Hmm.
front of them. So
Yeah.
they they are busy. It's not a short period of time, and some things are decided very, very quickly,
Hmm.
and others sit for a long time, and it's not always predictable what's going to be decided and what's going to sit. I have seen cases decided much more quickly than this, but I've also seen decisions take even longer.
Yeah. So it's obviously in the defendant's interest not to have this case move forward. They're trying to dismiss it. They've got a motion to dismiss, which hasn't been ruled on. But yesterday, tell us what happened yesterday, because there's a little bit of confusion as to what actually happened.
So a couple of days ago,
Yeah.
actually, um, the United States Department of Justice
Hmm.
filed what is essentially an intent to file a statement of interest.
Hmm.
And so in a few weeks, they will file a statement of interest, but this gives the court a heads up that this is going to be coming from DOJ.
Hmm.
And they are interested, obviously, as the enforcers of the laws of the United States, they are interested in enforcing, among other things, antitrust laws.
Yeah.
So they have taken literally an interest in examining what's going on in this case and our allegations as plaintiffs of the group boycott by the Trusted News Initiative. They're the self-labeled Trusted News Initiative,
Hmm.
um, which includes some of the defendants in our case, that the government would like to step in and share its opinion, its assessment with the judge in this case. So if the judge was sitting on an opinion and ready to release it, he's probably holding it back now to wait to see that statement of interest. We don't know that that's the case at
Sure.
all, by the way,
Sure.
just to be clear. But this puts a little bit of a pin in it. The government is not
Mhm.
going to take long to do this statement of interest, but they filed the intent to file a statement of interest, which isn't, it's a short sort of explanation of where they are. But
Mhm.
group boycotts are of real concern to the
Yeah.
Department of Justice because it is, you know, there are so many issues going on in this case. And this case is essentially, as you know, an antitrust case about the group boycott. But because it implicates free speech and the ability of, journalistic outlets, yourself, CHD, others,
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
share information, it also implicates the ability of people to hear and obtain a variety of opinions, right? They are the name the Trusted News Initiative says a lot
Mhm.
about the hubris with which they believe,
Yeah.
they're acting. They believe they are the trusted source, and essentially what they've done in, as we allege, putting together this group boycott through TNI is implicate free speech rights as well.
Well, it's not just a boycott, just for our audience sake. It was, I think, an attack. I mean, we lost 8 Twitter accounts, Facebook, MailChimp, Patreon, PayPal, Stripe. You know, I could go CJ Affiliate, Google AdSense, Google Ad Manager, Google AdX, all of it within a short period of time. I mean, they attacked us. So nobody can get good alternative viewpoint at that point,
Right,
right?
and you're
Mm,
100% right that the term, and it's a term of art, right? It's a legal
mhm,
term of art, group
mhm.
boycott. It sounds like someone's, formed a, a bunch of people have formed a picket line and said,
Yeah,
don't listen to these people. But it is much more than that. It really
yeah,
went after the heart and soul of how outlets that share a viewpoint that is different to and maybe in conflict with the trusted initiative
right,
narrative and the government prevailing narrative at that point, the efforts that they took to really disable the ability of those of us who had alternative viewpoints or different viewpoints from sharing that information and being able to even fund our work.
yeah, exactly. Do you know who's on this at DOJ? Is there a person connected to this, an attorney, or is it just kind of nebulous at this point?
DOJ has an antitrust division, so
Okay,
folks in their antitrust division, I assume, will be looking at it.
got it. And I know that this lawsuit just goes over after the news companies, but the tech companies were involved in this too, right? And it was a strategic decision just to sue the large new, I think it's AP, Reuters, BBC, and WAPO. Are
So
those defendants?
yes, and I frankly I wasn't at CHD when this
Okay.
all first started,
Uh-huh.
um, but yes, so the Trusted News Initiative (TNI) itself is much larger than just the defendants in this case,
Right.
and it does include some of the big social media platforms.
Mhm.
It includes, Google is, I think,
Mhm.
part of TNI. There are also newspapers from a whole lot of different places around, both online and print, from around the world who were involved in
Mm.
TNI. It's a pretty big web when you start to dig into it. If
Yeah.
listeners want to go online and look, and they Google Trusted News Initiative.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
They will be able to see just how many organizations were involved.
So does that I've always been curious, does that include NewsGuard? Are they part of the TNI, or is that a
Um,
separate issue?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because I don't know off the top of my head all of the organizations. There are a lot of them.
Yeah, and then the State Department was, it was shown that they had their own global news network that they were funding, essentially, I think through USAID.
And
I forget the name of it, but
there's been a lot of, and this goes to some other cases that CHD is involved in.
mhm,
We have a case that was formerly known as Kennedy against Biden.
mhm,
Obviously, there's been a change of administration, and CHD is still a plaintiff in that case, where we have allegations of government collusion and coercion of social media platforms to
mhm,
deplatform Children's Health Defense and other individuals and entities. And um, that case was consolidated with the case that went up to the Supreme Court last year, Murphy against Missouri. Um, and a lot of discovery came out of
mm,
that case and came
mhm,
out of Representative Jim Jordan's subcommittee and the judicial committee and some subcommittees of that, concerning, evidence showing back and forth between, for example, Facebook and the government
Mhm.
and the pressure put on the government because they have that, tremendous hammer of Section
Sure.
230, and the pressure they put on, and Mark Zuckerberg has made statements about having felt pressured by the government. Unfortunately, yesterday we got a decision from the Supreme Court not to take another CHD case, CHD against Meta platforms, to not
Interesting.
hear that case next year, which is disappointing.
Mhm.
The case was interesting because it was filed, and it covers issues broader than just COVID related censorship. And it was filed, I believe, pre-COVID.
Mhm.
And or right at the very beginning of COVID, before a lot of the censorship that's directly COVID related took place. But that case was filed with a very, very expansive complaint. It was dismissed by the district court in Northern California. It went up to the Ninth Circuit, where the Ninth Circuit upheld the dismissal. But this was a case, again, that sat for, I think that it sat for almost 2 years, if not over,
Yeah. Yeah.
before we got a decision from the Ninth Circuit. So again, the wheels of justice are turning slowly. But during that time that it was sitting with the court, we filed what are called motions to take judicial notice. And that's
Mhm.
literally where you say to the court, hey, you need to pay
Take a
attention
look. Yeah.
to this. So we felt, firmly believed that we had plenty of evidence. We should not have been dismissed. Our complaint was more than sufficient as it was. But over time, while that case was sitting with the Ninth Circuit, all of this information was coming out of Missouri v. Biden and coming out of Jim Jordan's committees. And so we would send packets essentially with a motion to the court saying, hey, you should pay attention to this too.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when the Ninth Circuit issued their decision, they really didn't. And we had one judge who dissented in part, who essentially said, we need to look at this. We just can't put on blinders and ignore this evidence, because you're operating the majority. You're operating in this world where you're ignoring what's happened
Yeah.
subsequently, which really does impact the outcome, or could impact the outcome here. And certainly at a minimum, and this is what we always argued, it doesn't change our complaint. Our complaint is solid as it is. It should withstand a motion to dismiss. But this reinforces what
Mhm.
we've alleged in our complaint is happening. This just shows you more evidence of what's going on. So we took that up on a petition for writ of certiorari to the U.S. Supreme Court, and unfortunately, it was conference last week, and the list of cases they're taking and not taking came out yesterday, and they had denied, as they do. Unfortunately, there's only so many hours in the day, I guess,
Sure.
at the Supreme Court. They take very few cases on petitions for writs of certiorari. So the list of cases it's a small percentage of cases they take.
So is that done, or can it be is it still
So
working its way through the courts, or what?
no, that's done.
Uh-huh.
And that doesn't mean we're done fighting that
Mhm.
battle, but that case is done.
Are there other cases in the works that could address some of those issues that you know of?
So we're we and other people are always looking at other cases
Mhm.
to see what we can do, because we remain deplatformed on
Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and
Mhm.
we're on X, which is great, and X has been a great outlet for us, but there are other outlets that other people use, and you want to reach young people, you go on TikTok. I always feel old when I
Yeah, of
say that.
course.
You want to reach young people, you go on TikTok. So we want to be able to reach audiences,
As you
all
should
kinds of
be. I
different
mean,
audiences.
even Google or YouTube now we got a strike the other day because we had somebody, I think from, actually it's from the wellness company, one of the docs, who was talking about vaccines, and they
Mhm.
said, "No, you can't talk about that." So, I mean, that's antitrust behavior in my opinion, you know? So,
Yeah, so
anyway.
it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the Department of Justice now
Mhm.
filing the statement of interest. And I know you are, and I am, and I think the other plaintiffs really, looking forward to seeing what it is that they file in a couple of weeks.
Wow, thank you, Kim. Anything else you wanna get out?
No, I think that's it. I appreciate you taking the time to have me on today.
Sure. And that's childrenshealthdefense.com, right? Is that the website?
children'shealthdefense.org.
.org. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'll have you back
Thank
if
you.
more changes. Take care.
Great. Bye-bye.